And what do you think is, let's say, I mean, you're going to have now there was already a lot of disparity in global economic, there was never a lot of parity to begin with. Now you're going to have a lot of countries at different stages of the pandemic. You'll have different countries. You obviously have the supply chain being cut off some places. How do you see this whole shift happening now that we talk a lot about China and specific instances of countries who want to trade with certain countries and not so much? How do you see the power shifting, or will it be very America centric still? Like how do you see the dynamics unfolding?
I think US and China will probably be 1 and 2. I don't think there'll be any change in that. It depends on how derailed US will be. US is about 20 trillion.
So you're still saying China would still regain most of its, in spite of the continued criticism and all these things mounted against
the way
country?
Purely numbers wise, China is about 3/4 of US. So China is 75% of US in terms of economy, pure by the nominal size. So if US doesn't grow for the next 2-3 years in a significant way, which I don't think it will, it's hard to sort of speculate on that. If that were to be the case, which is at least likely, and China will grow and catch up, China might surpass the US in the next 5 years. Very much a possibility. Because they're very close. I mean, 15 trillion and 20 trillion. So they're not.
In that context, just with geopolitics, I mean, would it just a simple question? How easy is it to do business without figuring China into the equation?
I don't think that's even a possibility. I think people are not considering such an extreme scenario wherein China is sort of sequestered from the rest of the world. I don't think it's even a possibility because the entire supply chain of the world depends on China's excessive supply. So the way to think about this is we're all being subsidized to get low-cost goods because of China's oversupply. So we are paying the price because our producers cannot compete with China's produce, anything that they produce, because they have just flooded the market with their excessive supply. And we are sort of subsidizing their excessive supply and their production capabilities. And we've done that for about 10 years because consumers were just happy because they were getting cheap products. They didn't bother with the fact that some producer down the street who's producing the same product at a pretty good rate is going to get hit because China is flooding the market with their excessive supply. So we have subsidized China's excessive supply for close to a decade. Now all of a sudden to unplug that machine is almost impossible because supply chains take years to kind of develop and plug themselves into the market.
If you're on the supply, it's not easy. It's not an overnight process.
It's not an overnight process. It takes years, sometimes even decades. At least a decade to sort of reset. But there has been some speculation that at least some sectors which do not need to be linked to the supply chain of China can be sort of unplugged. There have been some companies, American companies, who are trying to at least diversify. They are not unplugging from China. They're at least diversifying just in case of a catastrophic scenario wherein they get into some sort of armed conflict, which doesn't seem likely, but it's a possibility.